we go. Ready.
So, welcome to the channel. This is RPG Coaching. My name is Lori, and if you're listening to this, then you're listening to Gamepathy Podcast, which has some holiday special of that talk. Actually, this is the second that talk I'm recording into my podcast, and 2020 was a challenging year. It was challenging from many aspects, and I was also thinking of the teachers, not only just the parents, and I thought how cool it would be to ask somebody who sees also the other side of the coin, and I mean not the parents, not only the parent side, but also the teacher side, and I was fortunate enough to meet this gentleman here, who can you see already if you're watching it on YouTube. We met on Instagram actually, Mr. Bernardo Salcido, and he is not only just a parent coach, but he is the principal of Paulding Middle School in the City of Arroyo Grande. He is the dad also of two teens and the author of the book called Connectteen, which is established for, giving some healthy relationships at home. And today I have the honor to have Bernardo here. Thank you for coming, Bernardo.
Laurent, thank you for having me on your show. You're doing a great job. And like Laurent said, we got kind of connected via Instagram because I was out looking for material for my own teens. And Laurent came to the rescue with some very good video game advice for my son. So thank you for that. And I'm really, really glad that I'm here.
Thank you, and I'm so good to have you here because I have some really important questions regarding 2021. Because today we were talking about the future of education for 2021. So if you're a parent and if you have kids having some education, I'm pretty sure wherever you are in the world, nowadays the education is based online. And I do know that so many parents are struggling with this new kind of education. But one of my first question is, like, when COVID hit, I mean globally, and you knew that you need to figure out something new to keep, the education ongoing. Like, how did you transform the education in your school to online education? Was it hard? Were there some challenges? Was the transfer smooth? Can you tell me a few words about that, please?
Absolutely. And like you said, COVID really hit us and blindsided the world of education. It has been so static for so long. Education, the way we've done it, the way we have done it for so long, really got shaken up. And it's been an interesting and fun transition, although very difficult for students to adjust to the workload and teachers to actually present curriculum. But it's been interesting in the different shifts that we have seen. So when we first hit in COVID, it was, a very different world than we are seeing right now. It was one of very accepting and a lot of just, if you do the work, you will pass. And we actually had a lower percentage. I think it was 30% for those students to reach. If they reach that threshold, this is back in March and April, right when it hit, that was the target for students. And that was a very more indirect method. The teacher would get on a little bit, give them some assignments, and then the student would do them because we just thought, we're coming back soon. We're going to finish this year off normally. So that's what education looked like then. Now, when we started this new school year, because COVID didn't let us go back at all, right? That's crazy to think about. We really had to revamp exactly how we gave that curriculum. So we went to more of a format of, you're going to be live with your teacher, and that minimum time is going to be 30 minutes. And then from there, your teacher is going to give you an assignment. So definitely more structure, and definitely more of a, this is normal school. And now here we are, we're trying this again. We're in our third iteration of what this looks like, because now we're going to have a 50-50 split, basically. We're going to have some kids at home and some kids that are going to be in the classroom. So here we go again for this new way of learning how to do education. I'm really excited about it. And I'll talk to you about some of those ideas and ways that education could come out of this for the better.
Awesome. That's so good to hear a positive feedback, because honestly, uh, most of the parents who I have contact with, um, they really struggle. They really struggle with online education, and I do know that there are many solutions, like how a class can be held also online, because there are so many platforms nowadays. And but
There are many different platforms out there for sure.
right. And what were the feedbacks from the parents side for your school, I'm talking about the second wave of COVID, because just as you said, like the first wave, like, okay, we will get over it and we will go back to normal. Yeah. But what were the feedbacks from the parent side and from the teacher side? What were the main struggles from both sides? And I'm talking about the second wave here, mostly
Okay,
because.
so second wave of COVID, that's when we came back in August to try this whole thing again. And a lot of the feedback, interestingly enough, is we have, if you look at the demographics and our grading schedule, we have a lot of kids who are doing really, really well. Kids who have straight A's, some of them even like over 100%. And so we have a portion of students who are in that category. And then we swing all the way to the other side and we have students who are really, really struggling, whether that be with internet connection, whether that be with support at home. And in the middle, the bell-shaped curve doesn't exist right now. That's what we're finding. So we have more of this kind of U approach, kids who are really hitting it out of the park, and then kids who are really struggling, but in the middle, so. And that is really difficult for teachers. And that's one of the complaints of teachers is they're either there or they're not. Like there's none of this in between to where you would teach to the middle, so to speak. That the kids either are not engaged or that kid is 100% camera on talking to you all the time. I think another piece of feedback that I've been hearing from teachers a lot is this is a huge transition for them. They are so good at that face-to-face communication and reading the crowd and knowing when a kid is getting it and then being able to address that online, just like we're doing now, is really hard on those kinds of teachers who thrive on that interaction and can read their audience and really teach to those kids. Now you're sitting in front of a computer and it's tough. You see some of the kids, but not all the kids. And that's been a real big struggle for the teachers.
Mhm. Yeah. From what I heard from the parent side is it's really hard to get the child, sitting in front of the laptop or computer, to let them stay there and focus on the class, because uh, some of the parents who approach me with such questions, like, my kid is doing multitasking during a class. And I was like, okay, what kind of multitasking? Like, he's chatting with his friends and he's listening to the teacher. And I was first asking, like, okay, but what are the kid's grades? Like, are his grades good, or is he, losing, attention to the class because of the chat? So what kind of, oh, somebody's knocking at my door. So what kind of uh, um, results were there? And the parent said, like, no, my kid doesn't have worse grades than before. He's just like multitasking. And I was like, just let him be.
Mhm.
Because from my perspective, from my point of view, and this is only my my you know um, side of the coin here, so to speak, regarding, when we are talking about the virtual world of the children, because this is also what I'm really passionate about. Kids nowadays can learn, or they are learning multitasking on a whole different and higher level than we did.
Completely different level.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if the kiddo can, watch, I don't know, literature or some other classes, and he can also chat with his friends, whether about the class or about something else, but he can pay still attention. Why not?
Why
Why
not? Yeah,
not?
my kids are a really good example of that. And you mentioned like that struggle with the students. You can see their grades just like you used to whenever we were in real school. So that needs to be that first measuring stick of, if they're struggling, that's a different story. But if they're performing at the same level, or for some kids even higher, and then you do see them doing some multitasking, chances are they know when they can tune in, right, when they need to pay attention, and when they can zone out and do something else while the teacher's talking about something that either maybe they've already done, or something
Speaking
that's,
of attention, seeking attention,
there we
just
go.
yeah, just my 4-year-old just bombed into our conversation. Hi.
Hello. She needs a brother or sister. That's for sure.
On it.
That'll be perfect. She can play with them and show them the ropes of life.
Let's hope so. Mondja drágám. Oh God. There we go.
Mhm.
Csukd be az ajtót, szívem. That's the beauty. It's really awesome, and I won't cut it off from the recording. That's for sure, because this is
Nice.
how this is life. I think this is life, like how we need to adapt to changes.
And that's something that I know you've been mentioning, a lot of the struggles of teachers and students, but in reality, there have been so many times that I have been surprised at what has happened with the students whenever we were expecting them to completely go south, when we were expecting them to misbehave, when we were expecting them to to do all these Zoom bombings. We've had two of them. I've talked to the kids. We don't have that anymore. When we have cameras on, the kids are behaving with their camera on, engaging with the teacher. Whenever we brought some kids on to do some learning groups with masks and in the classroom, they were model students. Like, they understand what it takes right now, and they're surprising me so much with their responsibility and their ability to adapt to this change, even more so than us. Like, you tell them, hey, you need a Chromebook, put your headphones in, wear your mask. Boom, 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 done. Stay 6 feet apart, done. I mean, they're looking around and monitoring their distance between their friends to make sure that they are socially distanced.
Right,
It's
right.
fantastic. So I'm really excited to get kids back on campus in this new environment and less students. It's really going to be exciting, and I think for the better. All the things that we've already learned and how we can do digital learning better.
Okay, let's go back to this digital learning. Like, what were your solutions, your exact solutions in your middle school for online classes first, and second, next to this question, so related to this question, like, how do you see 2020 from an educational perspective?
Mhm. So
Right.
we definitely had to figure out the interactive part. So a lot of legislation in California and the United States was talking about students need engagement. So we really turned to Google Meets. That was a very simple platform
Mhm.
produced by Google that is less option based than a Zoom. Very simple. The kids click in, and it also pairs really well with something called Google Classroom.
Right.
So that's the platform that we used and continue to use. And it's been really, really successful. It's a very streamlined approach that not only provides the interaction with the teacher and the student via a virtual meeting, but it also houses all their assignments and sends them emails, and then the kids get an email account through Google as well. So really utilizing that platform to its advantage. But there's other ones out there like Zoom and Canvas and others. But for us, Google Meet really works. It has a really good synergy, and then it's easy for parents to follow as well.
Right, right. That's so awesome. And regarding to that, like, what kind of solutions would you implement into the next year, like 2020? Let's hope this whole COVID thing will end soon, and just try to play the game of imagination with me. And in
It's funny that,
2021 we go back to school, like,
yes, the
not
game
only
of
virtually.
imagination. Wow. Um, Honestly, I would say, and here's what I would like to do, is keep this platform going, keep the Google Classroom going, keep the Google Meets going. And here's why. We could easily transition back and forth at any time if COVID were to hit again or something else. But also, I'm thinking about those kids who aren't ready to come back or maybe get sick, or in terms of disciplinary action, we can still provide an amazing curriculum for those kids who are at home, but they're just watching it from a virtual platform. So
Right.
instead of saying, okay, you'll catch up on the work whenever you get back, and you know how that works. They're out for a week and now they've missed all these assignments. If we keep this digital format in place, students who do miss really don't miss that much, and they can see their teacher and ask questions and follow the assignments. I think that's going to be absolutely amazing. And then this goes to the teacher side. One of the things that we've been doing is all of these virtual meetings, virtual IEPs, virtual staff meetings. That is so beneficial. And I'd love to continue those. Right? We don't all have to get around and form a group in one big area. If I'm just going to tell you some information, stay in your classroom. I'll talk to you. You get the information you need. If you have to ask questions, stick around. Now, it does take away some of that personal character that school has, but at the same time, it really emphasizes time management. And if I have to attend a meeting, generally I'd have to go to the district office. Well, now I'm not on campus. So that's one less person to supervise all those kids and all the comings and goings. Whereas if I can stay and do a meeting from my office, and I can look outside and say, hey, I got to be right back. I got to pause. I can go handle something, whatever interaction that's happening. That saves me and puts me in two places at once, so to speak, to be more effective.
Yeah, I guess you will also continue keeping contact with the parents as well. Like, I don't know, like if you have some regular meetings with the parents as well. I don't know how often it is, weekly, monthly, quarterly,
Yeah,
right?
this kind of format works perfect for that. We can just say, hey, I'm going to send you the link. Okay, I'll see you in 5 minutes. The parent doesn't have to drive all the way down to school and figure that out. We can do it at whatever time is convenient, a 10-minute meeting in the middle of lunch, just because we can access this. And now the other part is we already have all this technology and we've been forced to use it. We're really good at using this technology now because we're going on almost a year of implementing these different meetings and ways that we interact with students. And not only that, but these online lessons are getting better and better. And so something that we can utilize, like I mentioned, is keeping the curriculum, but then turn that around. Teachers have really had to get creative with interactive lessons. Those are going to trickle down once we go back into school and utilizing those lessons that were never even thought possible. So I'm really excited 2021 and all the different things that we can utilize from what we learned with COVID.
That's so awesome. Right. Like you said, like we were forced to use this technology. How I see it, and this is also how I used to explain it. I consider myself lucky enough because I was born in an analog childhood, but I had a digital adulthood, so to speak. So I experienced basically, and it's amazing, like within 20, 30 years, technology advanced in such a great leap. For instance, I remember I learned programming on a Commodore 64 in when I was in middle school, and yeah, we didn't had internet connection, but then it came first. This dial-in connection where you had to
I plugged
wait.
it up.
Yeah, like downloading a picture from the internet took at least 2 hours long, and we
It wasn't a
had
big deal.
floppy disks of 3 megabytes of free space, like not even to enough to transfer one song, or not
Right.
speaking of a video game. Oh my god. Yeah.
We
and
have definitely come
yeah,
so far. And really the whole COVID thing kind of pushed our hand in making technology work for
Yeah.
education. I mean, they're doing digital conferences left and right where I can send a teacher to a conference and they do it virtually. They bring back the same materials that they were going to bring back whenever they would go in person, except they minus the travel time. So that's less time that they're away from their family. I mean, there's just so many little parts of this COVID thing that we can take away and really benefit from. And like you mentioned, the technology really had to be where it is right now for this to be possible. But I also think we needed our hand to be forced because education was going to continue to do what it would always do. But when COVID hit, we had to change. Like there was no way around it, and we're still changing right now. So um, it's interesting. I mean, we have groups of kids on campus where the teachers we have a supervisor monitoring the kids, and then the kids are interacting with the teacher on the computer. So it's like they're getting two forms of supervision, two adults watching them and helping them. I mean, that's fantastic for kids.
So, in all together, we can say that you see a brighter future for education in 2021.
Definitely brighter, and all the different strategies that we can utilize, and it even might look different. I mean, right now we don't have class on Fridays. Fridays is kind of like a catch up makeup day. And I don't know about you, but whenever I was younger, I'd always think, oh, that'd be awesome if we had every Friday off. It's close to a reality, more so now than it ever has been. So the flexibility of the schedule and just the rudimentary way that we go about it, 8 to 3, we don't not tied to that anymore because of what we have learned, and 2021 definitely looks brighter.
That's so cool. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to the Gamepathy podcast, then you hear the thoughts of a principal. So, and I'm not, and if you're watching it on YouTube, like you can also see that it's really so awesome that this gentleman here talks about the future of education in such a positive way. This is so encouraging. Let me tell you that. So especially from somebody who is in education, so to speak. So the headmaster of Hogwarts or something like that. I don't know. Right.
So something like that.
Yeah. But let's talk a few words about you. Basically, like, what was your why? How did you become a principal? Can you tell the listeners or the viewers a few words about you? Like, what is your why?
Definitely. I've always wanted just to help people. That's been at the bottom of my heart, my apple in my eye, my passion, just to help people reach out and really be able to effectively give them some guidance. And that's what brought me to education and helping students. And I was always like, that's where the groundwork is inside the classroom, working with those kids. And I would just teach my heart out. And again, that why was just helping people. Then the transition came of, you could have an even bigger impact and reach more parents, students, and now teachers as well. And that's where the drive to go into administration is. So that's what got me involved in administration, and it's been fantastic, honestly. Um, that's completely the career side of what I do. Not to mention the Instagram part is just a branch of helping people, helping parents, because through that educational career, I've been in education for 20 years. I was constantly hearing some good feedback of, man, the kids love how you interact with them. They really appreciate you. They respect you. And it didn't dawn on me till recently that maybe I need to share these thoughts, these experiences that I have with kids, and boil it down to what in the world am I doing? Why am I being successful? And that's what the book's about. That's what Instagram's about. Just some experiences that I have had, and then passing them along again to help people just improve their relationships with their kids.
So you wrote a book, right?
Yep. So so he wrote a book based on all of those strategies, and it's really just, you open it up and you read a little bit and then you go try it. It's more of a practical. This is how you do what I explain and know that works. If you're talking to a teenager, this is how you communicate with them. This is how you avoid that conflict with them. This is how you give them a second chance, because all those things are so important. So that book came out. It's called Connectteen. You can find it on my website, connectingwithteens.com. It's a great piece of literature, especially if you have teenagers, but it also works with any other type of relationship. If you're communicating with somebody else, these strategies can help you. So that's what the book is about. And then just little vignettes of that into Instagram.
Yeah, for the dear listeners, the ladies and the gentlemen, I will link Bernardo's website and all his ways to connect with him in the description of the video and into the description of the podcast as well, so you can contact him on at least 3 or 4 ways. So just feel free. Yeah. Why teens? Like, I mean, you could as since you're a dad, you also had experience with your own two kids. Like, why not starting with connect toddlers or connect so you got the point. Why starting
Yeah.
with the teens?
Most people run from that, right? Most people give me college, give me the toddlers when they're nice, cute, and cuddly. But the teenagers are so formative, and you see such a transformation. For me, that's where it's really important. That's where you're going to make an impact because now we're talking about life skills that they're going to be able to utilize when they get older, right? Those basic ones that you create with a toddler, I think parents have really got those dialed down. But that teenage formative years, so much can go wrong, so much can go well. For me, that is an important time to really buckle down. And I think it's also for me a time when parenting becomes more difficult. And I really needed to up my game and learn more strategies and figure this whole thing out because it only gets harder from that 10 years old and up. You're dealing with more attitude, more freedom, and more responsibility. And these decisions that they're making are huge. So for me, that was the most important time to get involved in a kid's life. The teenage years, that's why I picked that one.
Awesome. Okay. So just I have, although I haven't had the good fortune to read your book, but I have the high educated guess that your book also involves some sort of kind of active listening
There
too.
you go. Yep. And that's funny that you mentioned that because the, we have a class coming up on January 10th. That's the first class, and it's called The Art of Listening. So I'll be
Yes.
teaching parents. See that you segued that absolutely perfect. But that's the class that we're teaching in January to be that active listener that you're talking about because it really does start there. And like I mentioned before, that toddler age, you're doing a lot of the talking. That's easy for us as parents, right? We got that down. We have the right advice. We know what to say. But when they become teenagers, oh my goodness, it really does transition into listening and guiding, being that active listener and guiding their thoughts. So
Yeah.
they're the ones creating those right decisions. So being an active listener is so important. Yeah, I'd love to, can't wait to see how the class goes.
I can't wait to hear your feedback about it, how the class went. Yeah.
Yeah,
So maybe we can do another session later after the class finished to have your thoughts on the class as well, because how I see is right now those parents who have teens, you know um, and our experiences are coming from our own past, like how our parents raised us. And some of the parenting patterns nowadays, especially nowadays, are so outdated, and it's hard to recognize those old parenting patterns, and it's even harder to change those parenting patterns. And I think one of those is just what you said, like just learn to zip it and learn to listen,
that
because
is
this is also
completely true.
what I was missing from my parents as well when I was a teenager.
I think we all could relate to that, that our parents didn't listen to us enough. They just kept telling us what to do, bossing us around. But it really is a different landscape for parents out there right now. Back when you and I were growing up, that I always say that respect was already automatic.
Yeah.
The elder had the respect automatically. But there's a slow shift away from that. And you definitely see it in the younger generation where they're not going to automatically respect somebody just because they're older than them. Heck, they'll be lucky just to listen to somebody who's older than them just because. So you have to build that relationship with those kids. You really have to. And that's where teaching becomes effective. That's where education is huge. That's where
Right.
parents really build those relationships when they interact, listen, and focus on building that respectful relationship.
Right.
That is the big transition that I'm seeing right now with the new generation of teenagers.
Let's hope so. You will have a full class of really parents who are really want this change, and I really would love to hear about it. Okay, dear ladies and gentlemen, that was it for today regarding Gamepathy podcast. And if you're watching it on YouTube, then of course RPG Coaching channel. Thank you, Bernardo, for being here and answering all those questions for me.
You're so welcome, Laurent. Love your page. Love your approach. Your daughter was adorable. Definitely a pleasure.
Yeah, she will crash my future interviews as well. I have this guest, but I don't mind, and I hope also my other guests won't. Okay, thank you so much. And if we haven't said yet, we all wish you a happy New Year. And let's hope this COVID stuff will end soon. With that being said, dear parents, let's see each other next time in the new episode of Gamepathy Podcast and That Talk. Thank you and bye.